Hi, my name's Katrina Starpins and I love sparkle, especially glass beads. Today we're going to have a look at what I have in my Essential Bead Kit. Okay, the first item I cannot do without in my bead kit is my work surface, and today I'm showing you what I generally use when I'm filming, and that is the Seed Bead Treasure Mat, and it's just sitting inside one of the Beadsmith 11 by 14 inch trays. I've had this for a very long time, probably about 10 or 15 years, and it fits these seed bead treasure mats in them just perfectly. Things don't roll out of the edge. I've got the little wells in the top here for putting different types of beads in, and they also can come out if you need to wash the bead mat or if you want to replace it, and it's really light, so it can sit on your lap as well very comfortably if you're sitting in a recliner doing some beading that way. My number one needle of choice is the John James straw needles. The thing I love about the John James straw needles is they're a shorter needle, and that's good in my hands because I have quite small hands. The other thing about a John James needle is the hole in them is a little bit bigger or a bit wider sometimes than a regular hole, so it's a little bit easier to thread in my opinion. I tend to hold my needle like this when I'm sewing, and I use my thimble on this finger to push the needle through. Therefore, a thimble is in my essentials list for items I need when I'm bead weaving. This is just a little copper one that I got at a quilt shop recently. Another thing I like to use to protect my hands is my fingerling, affectionately called fingerling. It is essentially a piece of leather, and it just protects where the thread runs across my finger. I have a tight tension, and when I'm pulling the thread through something, it tends to cut into my skin just here. So by wearing this piece of leather here, it's well protected. I do have another video on my channel of making your own finger protector, so if you find that you've got a spot somewhere on your hands that the thread is running and burning into your skin, you can certainly make your own one of those. Next item is my Berkley Power Pro Fireline scissors. These are essential to me in my bead kit. I love their little serrated blade. I like the short length of cutting blade. They have a little notch here, which is really great for cutting cup chain with, and I just really like them. They're my preferred scissor to use. This is Fireline thread. It's my go-to thread for everything. I do bead embroidery with it, I do bead weaving with it. There is cases though where you do need a thread in your bead weaving that has a slight stretch to it, and that's when my 1G comes in. This is a bigger spool of the 1G, 125 yard, and this is the beige color here. So they're the threads that I like to use. I also have my thread zap here. This is a new tool in my kit. Previously I was using the Beadsmith Thread Zap 2, which is also great. The reason I switched to this one is it's new and exciting, so I wanted to try it, and also because it's rechargeable. It has a USB cord, so you can recharge it at any time. So instead of throwing batteries out into battery recycling, I can just recharge it. Also in my bead kit, I generally have a pair of chain nose pliers. These have quite a fine tip on them, super strong, and they are flat on the insides of the pointed jaws there. It means it's less likely to mark your work when you're using them if you're using wire, and they're really handy for pulling on some, say your needle won't come through, you can pull that with the pliers and it really helps. Anything that makes beading through something a bit thicker, a bit easier, needs to be in your kit. If you like this content, I would love for you to hit the like button below. It really means a lot to me. I also really love having a Sharpie in my kit. I use this for drawing out designs, making marks on the back of work, marking the position of where something needs to go, and also for colouring in the edges of felt and foundation so that it tends to be darker and look like a shadow and sort of disappear into the background. I do use coloured Sharpies as well, but I always have a black Sharpie in my kit. When I'm doing bead embroidery, my glue of choice is the E6000 Glue. I prefer buying the smaller tubes simply because it can dry up quite quick if you don't put the lid on properly afterwards, and you can roll the tube up as you're using it so you can keep the glue fresh inside the tube. E6000 is a little bit smelly. You do need to use it in a well ventilated area, and it might be tricky to get posted overseas because it is considered a dangerous goods. It's highly flammable, so just keep that in mind. Buy it locally and you should be fine. And this is my triangle scoop. You can get scoops of different sizes and shapes, but I always tend to go back to this aluminium tray. They're super lightweight and they have a nice edge on them. They're good for scraping glue across away from the edge of something. If you've got some glue oozing out, you can use the triangle of your tray to just wipe that away, and then you can wipe it off on a tissue. If the glue does dry on the triangle, it just peels off once it's dry as well, so that's really handy too. The thing I really love about the aluminium tray is obviously the points on it, which make it really easy to pour your beads back into your tube. Okay, so you've had your beads out, you've been using them. You want to separate the beads into different colours, you can use the tray to do that. You can move them around the mat in case you need to make space for something else. You can scoop them up very easily. You can even do it without your hand if you need to. Just like that. And then when you want to put them back into the tube, you just simply pour them back in like this. Done! Couldn't do without this tray in my kit. Thanks again for watching, and as always, happy beading. Bye!